Why are lawsuits so expensive? Quite frustrating. When I was first involved in politics and government shortly after high school, I thought to myself, justice should be swift. Our founding fathers talked about how quick justice should be. It shouldn't drag on. There is such a problem in the court system with the fact that these cases go on for a year and sometimes many years. People have a right to get resolution to their issues promptly, not delayed over time. So, why are lawsuits so expensive? It's because, as an American society, we put justice as more important than efficiency. Because let's face it, let's say you had a trial that happened a day after, or let's say a week after a lawsuit was started. On one hand, that would be really efficient. That'd be great. The lawyers couldn't bill $100,000. There's only 7 days in a week. And the parties who are in the lawsuit would have finality. At least we'd have a court decision in that case. But here's the problem. Would there be justice done? Would the parties have had time to gather all the evidence, interview all the witnesses, and prepare those witnesses and the evidence for trial? No, you can't possibly do that in a week, especially in big cases. Imagine there's 100,000 documents, or imagine you have to get emails off an email server at a company, which takes time just to get them. Then you have to review them. Then you have to see how they're relevant to what individuals knew. Then you ask those individuals questions. You might have depositions to do that. Then, once you've gathered all this information, you might even find out that there's more information out there, like, oh, there are a few cell phones that will have information that were deleted from the email server. We need to go get that. So you can see how this goes on. This is called discovery. It's where the parties are discovering information. You need to have some time to do that. And then the parties need to have time to process it and put together their arguments and address legal issues prior to trial. And those are presented to the judge in the form of a motion. Then you need to prep for trial and go to trial. And by the way, there should never be surprises at trial. I love the surprises that happen at trial on TV, but that's called ambushing someone, and it's generally prohibited in real court systems, not on TV. So everything needs to be exchanged well in advance of trial. The parties exchange all the evidence, the list of witnesses, and many times what those witnesses are expected to address. Then finally, you prepare for trial, you coordinate schedules with everyone, and you have your days of trial. So that's why, in general, lawsuits do need to take somewhere between 9 months to a year. Now you might say, well, I know a lot of cases that take a lot longer than that, and they're a lot more expensive than that. That's true, but that's usually because one party is trying to find a lot of things to fight about. There's a lot of money at stake, and everything involves lawyers doing a lot of work. So, for example, if you're talking one of the big oil companies or big tech or something like that, or a class action case, that's going to take a significant amount of time. So why are lawsuits so expensive? Well, every single stage of this effort needs to either be done by you for free. In other words, you don't have to pay yourself, so you save money from hiring an attorney, or you hire an attorney. If you hire an attorney, the attorney is spending hours doing all of these things, gathering the information, reviewing it, meeting with you, putting together arguments, writing up those arguments for the court, presenting them, waiting for the court to rule, maybe having another motion to the court, presenting those arguments, waiting for the court to rule, coming on back. You might have many motions prior to actually getting ready for trial. In fact, it's very typical to have motions. And a motion itself can cost $5,000 to $10,000. And that's fairly common because you need to present all the arguments so you don't lose. You can't just say, oh, the judge will get it. The judge will understand. No, you have to present the arguments for the judge to consider, and then the judge can adopt those arguments in the order. So unfortunately, with these motions, both parties have to respond, and it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes investment. And if you're hiring an attorney, it takes an attorney to do that. If you're doing it on your own, Not only is the quality going to be much worse, but you're going to be trying to figure out the law as you go. And when we take into account attorneys have gone to 3 years of law school, plus then typically a number of years practicing under a senior attorney to learn, you're trying to get a lot of that learning relevant to your case in a very short amount of time. By the way, did you know that many attorneys don't go to courtrooms? They're called transactional attorneys. They'll just tell you, I don't litigate. I don't go to the courtroom. Why? Because they may know the topic of law, but there's a whole different set of rules and laws related to how things are handled in the courtroom. There's a set of rules called the rules of evidence. There's a set of rules called the rules of civil procedure. There may also be other rules like the rules of general practice. Then individual districts may have their own rules, and individual judges might have their own rules. And so that's why not even every attorney is willing to go into a courtroom. It just emphasizes the amount of information that needs to be learned and processed and applied if you're trying to represent yourself in court. There's an old saying, an attorney who represents himself in court has a fool for a client. Why? Because even attorneys need attorneys, somebody who can see objectively and represent them without the emotions and the distraction of the narrow perspective that the person has. You need somebody who's objective and can think about what does the judge need to see. Feel free to register at aaronhall.com/free. You'll get on our free newsletter. It doesn't come out that often, and it's all about delivering important value to you, educational information that will help you avoid problems in your company and improve your life.